Did you know that infants are more likely to be homeless as compared to children of all ages living in the United States? In 2015, single mothers of young children lived in transitional and emergency shelters more than any other group. The National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth estimates that families experiencing homelessness are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population, with approximately 2.5 million children experiencing homelessness over the course of a year. The purpose of this section is to provide you with essential knowledge of the prevalence of homelessness, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, factors that increase the risk of homelessness, and the impacts on young children and families. The Administration for Children and Families profile on North Carolina estimates that 28,154 young children are experiencing homelessness statewide. That's one in every 26 children under the age of 6. Of those 28,000, only 5% of those children have been identified as enrolled in an early care program, such as Head Start or Early Head Start. This data does not include children who may be enrolled and served through the Child Care and Development Fund or the North Carolina Pre-Kindergarten Program, as this data is not yet available. However, even with the additional data, we would expect to continue to see a significant gap in identifying and enrolling young children experiencing homelessness in early care and education programs. The data highlights the need for increased efforts to identify these children and connect them with early care and education programs where they can receive the supports they need to grow up healthy, strong, and ready for school. Identifying and connecting children experiencing homelessness with early care and education programs begins with understanding existing legislation and how homelessness is defined. The McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act is the law that establishes the Education of Homeless Children and Youth program and provides access for children who lack a consistent nighttime residence to a free and appropriate education. The Act also removes barriers to a child's enrollment in educational programs. The McKinney-Vento Act defines homelessness for educational programs, and examples of living situations that may qualify under the Act include doubling up, which is sharing housing with other persons due to economic hardship, living in a transitional, domestic violence, or youth shelter. Also, if a child is awaiting foster care placement or abandoned in a hospital, the child will qualify as homeless under this law. If a family is currently living in a hotel, motel, in any public place, or in substandard housing, they would also be considered homeless. North Carolina's McKinney-Vento State Coordinator oversees the implementation of the law at the state level and provides technical assistance to local liaisons. Local liaisons identify homeless students in their district and connects them to available community resources, such as childcare for their younger siblings. Liaisons also provide training to school faculty and staff. There are many factors that can increase a family's risk of homelessness. In addition to the inadequate supply of affordable housing and lack of jobs that pay living wages, some families face additional adverse experiences, such as domestic violence and natural and other disasters. Lack of access to services needed to maintain jobs, such as substance abuse and mental health care, can also place a family at risk to experience homelessness. Homelessness has a devastating impact on young children and families. Children without a permanent home are at a higher risk for poverty related issues, including inconsistent and inadequate health care, with health needs twice the rate of other children. They may suffer from poor nutrition and lack access to healthy foods. Also, these children may live in crowded and unsanitary environments and lack appropriate access to early care and education programs and other resources. Young children experiencing homelessness are more likely to face other challenges as well. Premature birth, a lack of regular well baby care, exposure to violence, and chronic health conditions are some of the specific impacts of homelessness on infants and toddlers. These children are also more likely to have mothers with mental health struggles. Research shows that homelessness can have significant social emotional impacts on young children, which can interfere with healthy development. Anxiety, fear, self doubt, and attachment disorders are common among these children, as they can often lack familiar, stable, and predictable surroundings. This can greatly impede the child's ability to form appropriate attachments with adults and create friendships with peers. The impacts of homelessness on a child's development highlights the importance of connecting these children to quality educational and support services. In the next section, we'll discuss building relationships with families and strategies for identifying young children experiencing homelessness.